Please be aware, in this podcast series we talk about all areas of safeguarding, which some people may find upsetting. So please make sure you're okay listening to today's topic. Be mindful of those around you, such as children, that you might not want to listen in. Hi, I'm SSS Safeguarding Director Sam Preston.
And I'm former head teacher and content author Sara Spinks.
So today we're delving into a critical safeguarding issue that demands attention and understanding: child sexual exploitation, commonly referred to as CSE. So for those listening, Sarah, could you maybe just give us a quick run through and explain what CSE is?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Well, CSE is a pervasive problem affecting children worldwide. And it's crucial that we shed light on its various aspects, from, the definitions to indicators and the preventative measures. It's essentially the exploitation of children under 18 for sexual purposes. And this can involve coercion, grooming, and manipulation by perpetrators. I think it's also important to note that in the UK, the law defines a child as a person under the age of 18. Even though the legal age of consent to sexual activity is 16, due to the abusive nature, CSE applies to all children up to the age of 18.
Yeah, and it's important to note that CSE isn't limited to physical acts. It also includes online exploitation, such as grooming through social media platforms. So HM government guidance defines sexual abuse as involving, forcing or enticing a child or young person to take part in sexual activities, not necessarily involving a high level of violence, whether or not the child is aware of what is happening. This definition has been expanded to highlight that it can also occur through the use of technology without the child's immediate recognition. So, for example, the persuasion to post sexual images on the internet and mobile phones with no immediate payment or gain. And it also goes on to say that in all cases, those exploiting the child or young person have power over them by virtue of their age, gender, intellect, physical strength, and or other resources.
Yeah, and sexual activity is a broad term, but includes watching sexual acts, inciting sexual activity, and penetrative sexual acts. Sexual activity which involves children under the age of 16 is unlawful. However, a court will take into account the circumstances of child-to-child sexual activity.
So sort of say between two 15-year-olds.
Yeah. And whilst there's been more of a focus on teenagers, it's really important to stress the increasing prevalence of younger children in this activity. Therefore, I need to stress the legal implications that any sexual activity which involves children under the age of 13 is unlawful, as they are deemed not to have the legal capacity to consent to such activity. Here are some examples of such offences, causing or inciting a child under 13 to engage in sexual activity. This offence behaviour, involves intentionally causing or encouraging a child under 13 to participate in sexual acts. It can also include acts like penetration, sexual assault, or other harmful behaviour. Next one is, a rape of a child under 13, a serious offence where sexual intercourse occurs with a child under 13 without their consent. Similarly, assault of a child under 13 by penetration. Similar to rape, this offence involves penetration of the victim's vagina or anus using a body part or an object. A sexual assault of a child under 13. This includes non-consensual sexual contact with a child under 13, even if penetration does not occur. And the final one is arranging or facilitating the commission of a child sexual offence. And this offence pertains to the organising or assisting in the commission of sexual offences involving children.
So we're talking about an age group that sit very firmly within our primary school settings, isn't it? So how can primary settings be mindful of this?
Well, research indicates that young people having a knowledge of healthy relationships and consent is a protective factor and decreases that vulnerability to sexual exploitation. So it's really important this education should begin in primary school, embedded in a really comprehensive sex and relationship or SRE programme.
So has the prevalence and availability of technology, has that had an increased impact on CSE?
Yeah, technology has proved a further medium where abusers can exploit children. It's illegal to take, possess, or share indecent images or videos of anyone under 18, even if they are the person in the picture. This includes child-to-child sharing too, even if both children are in the consensual relationship, and can in fact morph into what would be regarded as child-on-child exploitation. The term indecent applies to images of a naked person, a topless girl, or of genitals or sex acts, including masturbation, were displayed.
Okay, so let's look at some context. You know what I'm like. Let's look at the statistics. So what's the stats on under 18 use of online activity?
Well, recent statistics show that the age of online service users is getting younger, which places more children at risk of CSE abuse. According to Ofcom's report, Children and Parents, Media Use and Attitudes, which was published in March in 23, the majority of homes with children aged 0 to 18, 97%, had access to the internet in 2022, significantly higher than the average for all households. That's at 93%. Most children aged 3 to 17 went online at home or elsewhere, via mobile phones, that's 69%, and tablets, 64%. Although the types of devices used vary by age of child. Viewing videos on online video and sharing platforms, or VSPs they're called, such as YouTube or TikTok, remain a near universal activity at 96%. And while viewing live stream content online remains stable at 58%, that figure rises to 80% among 16 to 17-year-olds versus all children. Viewing habits relating to VSPs change by age. YouTube was the most used VSP amongst all children aged 3 to 17 for watching videos. 83% of children did that. But older children, primarily those aged 8 or over, used a greater range of platforms than those aged 3 to 7. For example, 16 and 17-year-olds used an average of 3 VSPs for this purpose, including TikTok, 62%, and Instagram, 54%.
Gosh, I find those statistics staggering. I find it staggering, and it's this access to technology, this, social networking sites and mobile devices that offers the abuser the further mediums to groom, coerce, blackmail, exert that control. Grooming is that's a crucial aspect of CSE, that where perpetrators are using, various tactics to manipulate and control their victims. So maybe we should just for a minute just to sort of focus on that, Sarah. So can you sort of maybe give us some more information on grooming?
Yeah, well, grooming tactics include physical and mental manipulation in order for the perpetrator to take advantage of the child sexually. Perpetrators are often patient and develop the grooming process over a long period of time to achieve their aim. Some typical grooming tactics are, making the child feel special, pretending to feel like or have similar experiences to the child, that sort of careful construction of the relationship to get to know all about the child, pretending the relationship is friendship or support, non-sexual, giving the child things they need or want, that gradual increasing physical contact or pressure for exploitative activity, construction of the need for secrecy, and then, also using other children or young people to help groom that child.
Yeah. Those models I think it's really important to understand that models of grooming also include systems where groups of young people are targeted, typically by other young people already targeted by and under the control of perpetrators. And that I know from my practice, some perpetrators collectively work to groom large groups of young people. And this involves repeated invitations to parties at various venues with the intention of exploitation. And in this model, young people are regularly encouraged and have access to free drugs and alcohol, And once those young people are regularly participating, the perpetrators then demand repayment for the drugs and alcohol consumed, and unable to fund, young people are then sexually exploited to repay the debt. It's a really disturbing process that can go unnoticed for long periods, and it leaves a devastating impact on the victims. So do we know, are there any particular indicators that can make a child more susceptible to CSE?
Well, I think recognising the signs of CSE is vital, in preventing further harm to children. The indicators can range from absenteeism to self-harm and substance misuse, However, as with other forms of child abuse, there are no definitive indicators that make a child susceptible to CSE. But the following indicators really of CSE should be considered where, a child has a chaotic, dysfunctional home life, or poor or problematic parenting, including sort of parental mental health issues, a history of abuse or neglect, domestic violence in the home, bereavement, low self-esteem or self-worth. Some children who are particularly vulnerable because they've got SEND needs. Uncertainty of sexual orientation can lead to grooming. Association with children who are or have been sexually exploited, or homelessness or living in residential care is a real indicator. And where a child is a young carer and they're looking for that sort of affirmation of need, or gang association, they are all key indicators that could show that CSE could be, on the cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's susceptibility, isn't it? But I think, just to reiterate what you said earlier, there are no definitive indicators.
Yeah.
Any child could be susceptible. So I think from the perspective of keeping this on our safeguarding radar, we must not, we mustn't fall into that, let's look at these indicators and those are the children we really need to, keep an eye on. It is all children that they can be very, very susceptible. So what about indicators that a child, that they may already be exposed to CSE? What might that look like?
Well, I think practitioners need to be vigilant to potential CSE. If there is a continued absence from education, or there's reduced contact with friends or family, or frequently going missing from home or care, that in known association with gangs, self-harming, poor mental health, indications of physical injury and sexually transmitted infections, that's a really key one. Pregnancy and terminations, substance misuse, suicidal thoughts or attempts, having unexplained items or possessions, that could have been gifted as part of that grooming process. Sexual activity with someone who's of a much older age can also be a real key indicator. Inappropriate relationships on social media, and also encouraging others into exploitative relationships or situations. They are real potential indicators that somebody is in the throes of CSE.
Yeah, and I think it's about thinking, just always keeping that possibility on the radar, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going back to what we said. None of these are definitive, but like anything else, it's changes in behaviour.
Yeah.
So a lot of these, that within your list, Sarah, that it's changed behaviour, and so we should think: is there a possibility?
Yeah.
But it's essential, understanding these indicators and fostering supportive environments. That's how we can work towards preventing CSE, but also protecting vulnerable children. And we have to, obviously, at the same time, we've got to think about the education, the awareness. They're all key in combating CSE and ensuring the safety and well-being of children everywhere.
Absolutely.